Well, welcome again. AI is going to have a profound impact, already is having a profound impact on legal services. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So let's start here. If you can't afford a lawyer, you don't really live in a democracy. If you can't access the basic tools of justice, contracts, for most people, and goodness, justice, which in English, the Webster's Dictionary defines as the fair administration of law and authority. The fair administration of law and authority. So justice is about fairness. It isn't about who wins, who loses. Justice is about process. And the process is completely broken. Now, I think that this lack of affordable access to justice, which is quite acute in Brazil, but it's nothing that should surprise anyone. It's acute in the United States. It's acute throughout Europe. For most people, not some. And so this lack of affordable access to justice is a global problem. It's a chronic condition that's the result of institutions that are buckling under the weight of gross inefficiencies and wealth disparity. Now, I'm an optimist. I believe in the human ability to invent something better. And I think the only way that we're going to get out of this cycle of injustice, and again, for most people, justice, that fair administration, law and authority, is about just access to the process. Being able to have a lawyer, being able to put your affairs in writing, contracts, things like that, immigration. These basic building blocks of justice are out of reach for most people, and I think we can invent our way out of it. And I think we already are with machine learning and AI. Who's this? What's that little baby going to be with you? It's hard to tell, isn't it? You have no idea, right? It's hard to know what a mature person or technology will do when you see it in its infancy. Revolutionary technology can look quite different when it grows up, just like revolutionary people. This chicken here. Did anybody recognize that picture 100 years after it's probably taken? Probably not. Same with GPT-2. Remember that? Now another question, how many people played with OpenAI and GPT-2? Oh my God! I told you this audience is fantastic, right? But for most people, the vast majority of people, it's sort of this version. It's kind of the Che riding a motorcycle through Latin America. I think it came through Brazil. It's about that teenage or maybe 20-year-old Che, which isn't this guy. If you have this iconic picture, this is later. But I think that's what GPT-4 is. It's sort of this experimental version of the revolution. So this is a Gardner curve. Most of the beginning of this talk, I'm just going to kind of set the table. So for all of you AI experts, there's going to be some stuff, a lot of stuff you already know. For you lawyers in the room, maybe not so much in this class. So this is a Gardner curve, and it's measuring the hype cycle, right? So if I showed this curve, or showed this chart 2 years ago, it would have been NFTs, things like that. NFTs are still around, crypto is still around, right? But it's past this kind of use. Remember when kids couldn't use calculators, right, in school or take a test? I was, in that generation. So we've been here before, we've seen it. There were folks that were opposed to the printing press, to radio, to, refrigeration. But let me put it this way, I agree with those experts who say that AI is the most profound new technology since the internet, even more so than mobile computing. And I think could actually eclipse the internet from the past that we now enjoy and take for granted. Were so controversial before they became widespread. So this is the tutorial part for you, for the folks who are here. So what is AI and how is it being used? reason, act, learn, analyze data, especially. We'll talk a lot about data. So artificial intelligence is a field of science, I'm just going to read this, that focuses on constructing computers and machines that process the ability to reason, learn, and take action, similar to those that would typically require human intelligence, but with the capacity to digest large amounts of data. That's the difference, on a scale that exceeds what humans can handle. That's what we get from it. That the machine is making, hopefully, rational decisions based on orders of magnitude more data than the human brain can handle. Now, AI isn't just one thing. It's a collection of technologies that are used to accomplish a variety of tasks, including data analytics, and also predicting and forecasting future outcomes. The predictive ability is also another very important element. This isn't, I wouldn't say this is the Bible here. We're still so early in this technology that we're still defining it. But the definition we use at Rocket Lawyer, sort of the working definitions and stages of AI, are these that we didn't coin: reactive, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-aware. So the rest of the conversation we have, I'm going to try to categorize specific apps and so on into these four stages of AI. We've got apps right now that are sort of in stage 1 or stage 2 AI. We really don't have theory of mind and self-aware AI, at least that anybody's disclosed publicly yet. AI tools rely on the following, again, big bucket technologies: machine learning, ML, AI that enables computer systems to learn and improve without being explicitly programmed. Natural language processing, AI that enables machines to understand, interpret, and generate human language, generative AI. Predictive analytics, algorithms that can analyze data and make predictions about future events or behavior. And large language models, of course, that they depend on, which is an AI model trained on large amounts of text data to generate human-like responses to natural input. That's the one that everybody's so excited about right now, and that we are going to see some important new applications in legal tech for. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence that enables computer systems to learn and improve from experience without it being explicitly programmed. Machine learning models train themselves using data provided by programmers via training models. Now here are some examples of AI in action right now. Facial recognition. I'm going to pause on that one for a minute. A theme that I want to introduce in this talk right now is one that I spent the entire talk I gave yesterday focused on, which is AI problems, the need for regulation. Facial recognition comes with some amazing benefits potentially for all of us. Better security, better convenience. We can open our phones, right? We can pay for things, all sorts of stuff with facial recognition. But also with some real injustice. It can exacerbate the implicit and explicit bias that all humans have. We've already seen litigation about bias in facial recognition in programs that use facial recognition. So those of us who are in the legal business and who are lawyers and have taken an oath to uphold justice, the rule of law, should expect and maybe even champion, I would argue, laws that hold AI and its creators accountable for the bias problem. And facial recognition is one clear example of it. Medical screening, same thing. We're seeing AI and machine learning, I'd say more ML than AI right now, in reading charts, doing the work that radiologists typically do. Doing it more accurately, doing it better. Yet again, another place where we need regulation, because it's another place where there can be bias. The AI cannot be properly trained. It's garbage in, garbage out. So if the right data isn't going in, if data for women, people of color is not being gathered in the same old-fashioned clinical tests and so on, and then the AI isn't trained on that data, the AI's diagnostics are not going to be nearly as good for those groups. Now, how do we guarantee? What if those groups don't have, there's not a big payday at the end of the day for those groups, for biotech companies? You may not have the right commercial incentives to drive the kind of data collection that AI is going to need not to end up with a bias problem. So how do we, again, in the legal industry and in government, ensure that as this technology is deployed, and there are examples of it right now, that it's deployed in a way that is going to be, again, just. It's going to be fair. I'm not going to answer that question today, but I just want to put it out there. Self-driving cars in San Francisco, where I spend more time than anywhere else. You know, my 17-year-old kid already has a cruise account, and there's 250 cruise vehicles with no drivers in them, freaking everybody out on the roads of San Francisco right now. So again, it's already here. Your Netflix recommendations, now obviously the Bing search engine has got to start catching text suggestions. It's in our everyday life already. So specifically, what do we mean by generative AI? Some examples: ChatGPT, DALL-E, Midjourney. ChatGPT is a type of chatbot that uses generative AI technology. As mentioned earlier, most of the AI tools we interact with today are built with machine learning. Most of the stuff I was just talking about last slide. Generative AI, like I said, I think if I was going to categorize generative AI, it feels like Charley, teenager, early 20s chick, riding a motorcycle through South America. But unlike Che, GPT-4 is an exponential sort of logarithm for GPT-3, and so I think we may get that revolutionary in GPT-5. So generative AI is essentially a machine learning model that can create new text, images, sounds, and video using examples it's been given by its human caretakers. And like most AI used today, generative AI is a form of limited memory AI. So remember the four categories. It's a form of limited memory AI. Right now, limited memory AI is sort of as far as at least to my knowledge, we have commercial applications built around already. Another big area, and I don't think I have a slide on it, so we're just going to talk about it here. So you see DALL-E and Midjourney, these apps that create visual content. So to put that back into the news, we have a writer's strike going on in Hollywood right now. You guys are probably familiar with that. One of the big points of contention is the screenwriters, the folks who write all this content that we love to consume on Netflix and otherwise, they're looking over the horizon and they're seeing a world where content's being created by bots. And they're starting to negotiate their next contract with generative AI being perceived by them as an existential threat to human screenwriters. So lawyers are going to need to get, and legal technology companies are going to need to get really aware of this right now, because it's having right now impacts on the clients. It's having right now impacts on the people who use our services. At Rocket Lawyer, we have thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of DJs, of people who are involved in creative work, of writers who use Rocket Lawyer to set up their LLCs and make their contracts and make their agreements. And so this is already being negotiated at a level, large and small. Another example straight out of the news was Chegg. It's a US-based company in education technology. Chegg lost half its value in the last 2 days because in their earnings call, the CEO said that college students are using ChatGPT for their homework and subscribing less to the check service as a result. So we're starting to see this very first wave of creative disruption. And all of us, in whatever line of work we're in, really need to start to get on top of this stuff. And you're doing it obviously by being here. But it's already having real world commercial impact. And we in the legal industry have to get in front of it and not behind it. So the rest of this, that was sort of the overview. The rest of this talk, I'm going to go into specifics about the impact of AI on the legal industry. And again, I don't have the answers. I have more questions than answers. At this stage, we're very early, but one thing I'll say is I do think there are tremendous opportunities, incredible opportunities. And the reason why I put revolutionaries on the screen, and I don't talk a lot about disruption, is I agree with Jack Dorsey, who said, talk about revolution, don't talk about disruption. Disruption is just what you're going to destroy, what you're going to take down. Revolution is what you're going to create and leave that's better than what was there before. So we're always talking about revolution here, and I think AI has the potential to revolutionize access to justice. That's what it can do. Access to justice. More people can get the justice that they are entitled to by just about every constitution and the natural rights of people. Right? Go back to first principles. And so one of the things I'm really optimistic about AI is back to bias, right? Back to those problems, right? Yesterday I talked about 3 problems, 2 of which I've already said. The first one that I didn't say yet is greed, right? The problem of greed. And examples like Theranos, examples like FTX. We've already had litigation surrounding an AI company that claimed to have a certain corpus of data that the AI was trained on, and in discovery it turned out it wasn't correct. It wasn't that corpus of data. So there's a lot of accountability to be held here, and greed, intellectual property, and these problems, bias being the third problem, those are areas that I'm very actually optimistic that while there are problems, I think AI can actually be a solution. Why do I say that? Because if properly regulated and implemented, AI should be rational, and humans will never be rational, in my opinion. It's not in our nature to be rational, to make rational decisions. Cassie, right? Oh, she agrees. Awesome. Cassie is one of the foremost experts in decision science. So, yeah, I don't think humans can make rational decisions without the aid of tools. And so I'm hopeful that with proper regulation, and now as the legal tech industry starts to embrace AI, that we can actually do better than human decision making and eliminate bias, eliminate intellectual property theft, eliminate even potentially some of the human greed that is never a great recipe for long-term durability. So here's how we've at least identified lawyers use AI to work faster and smarter right now. And we're kind of mixing AI and ML together. Transactional work, machine learning and natural language processing technologies are used to analyze and process document data previously captured using scanning, OCR, other image processing tools. We are working on this exact thing, except the difference now is Rocket Lawyer and other, a few other platforms are natively digital. So now that AI has gotten more advanced, we tried to use Watson 10 years ago. We couldn't do it. And so now that AI is more advanced, if you're operating a natively digital platform, you've got the data. You've got better data, almost for certain, than the current generation of generative AI is already trained on, which is why it makes so many mistakes. So What's exciting is we've got the data already, especially for things like contract review, stuff like that. Litigation support. So this is sort of technology-assisted review, predictive coding. Remember that word predictive? Predictive and prescriptive. We're not at prescriptive yet, very much with AI. At least prescriptive you can count on. Prescriptive, I'd say that word. That's what we lawyers do. That's legal advice, right? You go to a lawyer or you go to a physician and they give you a diagnosis and they give you the plan and then they actually do it for you. They actually operate on you, represent you in court, these sorts of things. So predictive, yes, in terms of litigation support. Technology-assisted review, locating and classifying relevant documents, discovery, legal research, all of those areas we already are using machine. There are already companies that are deploying machine learning for. However, I get the question all the time, and I'll come back to it. Law office management, chatbots using machine learning models and natural language processing to automate client communications and intake. Now, I've actually seen demos of some really cool email, AI, ML tools for email, for communication, etc. Maybe some of you have seen those too. They're not widely available commercially yet, but I've used some of them. They're folks you might expect, Gmail and stuff like that. They're coming. They'll be here very fast. And not just managing law offices, but sort of any setting. A lot of the messaging that goes around, especially sort of routine messaging, is actually going to start to kind of be machine to machine. And I think that's okay. It'll make things more efficient. Now, so far I've been talking about predictive or sort of workflow stuff. But I'll go ahead and talk about this question right now because I don't think it's on the next slide. It's not. So I'll talk about this question now before we open it up to Q&A in a few minutes. Is AI going to replace lawyers? Well, right now that's illegal. It's illegal. Obviously, don't have a crystal ball, can't tell the future. However, I don't think that would be the right decision at this point. And I've been very out front. Rocket Lawyer is 15 years old this year. It's our quinceañera. 1 in 9 Americans has a Rocket Lawyer account now, and so we've got enough scale where we get a lot of data in, and have had an opportunity to interact with governments, etc., including here. And I don't think an AI should be able to practice law. So I think it should be a tool that humans can use, but I think ultimately what we want to keep for at least the rest of my lifetime, hopefully that's not a short period, we want to keep it. We want to keep humans as counselors and officers of the court. We had one company that tried to jump out in front of the United States. Do not pay. Maybe some of you saw that. I know Josh is a good guy. We need to consider what the sort of rational, data-driven sentencing based on the facts is. And then the judge can make the final decision. But we'll want that. We want something very rational. And that would be very different. We don't have that right now. I think juries should also get that kind of information, and I think they will in the future. And so here's another great opportunity, because we're not going to do it. But some of the things I'm talking about, if you're an entrepreneur and you go, oh, wow, let's build that. Come talk to us. Come talk to us. That's why I'm here. The selfish reason why I'm here and do stuff like this is there's so much stuff to go build in legal tech. We can't build it all, but maybe we can partner with you, be a platform. Maybe you can get some inspiration and go build some of this stuff. Okay? So, yes, there's going to be creative disruption, but I think you can build stuff that's going to be based on these new tools that's way better. In India, ChatGPT is used by a judge to obtain bail recommendations for a man accused of assault and murder already. So the early adopters in judging are beginning to do it already. And yes, I do think that in some jurisdictions, especially for low level, unlike lawyering, I think for low level, routine, traffic court, things like that, as the venue of sort of first resort, not an appellate court or whatever, but in the first instance, we can make things a lot more efficient. And I do think that infrastructure is going to be built out in tools and sold to governments, and you'll start to see AI acting as a judge in efficient capacity. I do think that's going to happen relatively soon. Great opportunity for it. Because these tools are going to keep getting better, faster, and smarter. Advances in self-learning. So AI gets smarter because the more you use it, the smarter it gets. Right? So it's going to continue to get smarter. We're making now GPT-4 smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. Because more data it gets. It knows the questions we're asking, the answers it's giving, and the up and down votes and all that good stuff. So it's getting smarter every second. There's an interesting discovery in the development of large language models called emergent behavior. Emergent behavior is the development of new abilities that do not appear in smaller models, but are present in large models. Emergence has been observed in other disciplines such as physics, biology, and economics. So the more we use it, the smarter it's going to become, and already is. There's also lots of advances in training, improved data sets. I talked about some of that already. Massive improvements in predictive abilities. Predictive abilities, which is a lot of actually, right, what judges do. That's why I think that's already here. And then, of course, like everything, faster processing. Right now, the $15 billion that Microsoft invested right now, AI is chewing up massive amounts of computing power, massive amounts of energy, etc. That will change. It always does. And as a result, it will become more widespread and democratized. And then an improved ability to collaborate with humans. So I'm almost done with the slides. The AI revolution will be real. I don't think I need to tell you that. It's already here. It's already here. So the only question is what we collectively are going to do about it in our industry. This talk is about the justice industry, the fairness industry. So what are we going to do with this tools? Thanks.